Let's go!
Probably the best in the league.
Yeah, that's what they say. Top 3. Yeah, right up there.
It's the Sittin Sportside podcast, exclusively on 1045theteam.com.
And welcome into the podcast. I'm Eric Hanman, along with John Lawton on the Sittin Sportside podcast, right here on 1045theteam.com. How you doing, John?
Doing great, actually. How you doing today?
It hasn't been long since we last talked.
No.
We talked a little NFL, so in case you missed that one and you're just seeing this, when we talk a little NFL free agency, Brandon Marshall, the Giants, check that out on the ESPN. It's actually on youtube.com/team1045, along with all the Sittin Sportside podcasts. Anyway.
You got 1 million views yet? Is it up to 1 million?
In total?
Yes.
In total
Yes.
of all our videos? We are
I'm talking about the Sittin Sportside podcast.
Of all our Sittin Sportside podcast videos.
Yes. Are you approaching the million mark?
My guess is that we are 999,806 short.
That's not bad. You're well on your way.
Yep.
I think we're gonna crack.
Where's that Tom Brady? Let's go. We're doing it. All right. We're your home for New York sports. 1045theteam.com, right?
Yes, we are.
And we're your home for UAlbany basketball. And we are on the brink. This Saturday, you'll be there. I will be running the board for Zach Bye and Roger Weiland and get the call of that starting at 10:30 on 145 the team. UAlbany will be playing for their first title, and it's only been 2 years, right? So they lost last year. Since the shot, is that what you said?
Yeah. Everyone knows the shot.
Everyone knows the shot.
I don't even have to get into it.
No. And that will be this Saturday, like I said, 11 o'clock on 145 the team. Initial reactions for you, and this is interesting to talk about. I feel like, and this is, I guess I feel safe by doing this because it's maybe on a podcast, but I feel like we don't hear anything negative about the UAlbany team on our station necessarily, and that might be a little off base. But I have I wouldn't say a hot take, but maybe for our station it's a hot take.
What do you got?
I think UAlbany has very little chance to win at Vermont this Saturday. I really do. I just don't see it. Vermont's been so dominant. And in both meetings this year, one at SEFQ and one up in Vermont, they ended up winning by double digits. I know the second one was close throughout, and then Vermont pulled away, so the score kind of looks a little more. But
UAlbany did have a second half lead in the second one.
But they didn't end up winning.
They were on a
4-game winning streak at the time. They actually have won 7 out of the last 8 games UAlbany has, and that one loss came to Vermont, and that one where they were even leading. So to say they have zero, I didn't say zero, I said little shot. So to say they have little shot, I know it's kind of rough to say that, but just how good Vermont has been historically in the America East, I just think I think that it's really just Vermont's to lose, especially because it's up in Burlington.
Did you just say historically?
They're having a historic season.
Okay, I'm just because historically, UAlbany's mopped the floor of Vermont.
Okay,
historically.
Fine. I know they've upset them up in Burlington before.
Upset them. They were never an underdog.
Yeah, but they won in Burlington.
Yes, they have. Burlington's a fun environment.
For the America East title.
They seat about 3,500 up there.
Vermont's a different animal this year, and no pun intended. They're a different animal. The Catamounts are a different animal this year. I mean, Trey Bell-Haynes, I know the stats aren't necessarily... when I looked at the stats, I said maybe he doesn't deserve to be player of the year. But just that team in general with Lamb, off the sixth man of the year, I believe he is... They're like
Lamb's
really
rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year.
And
Okay, Lamb.
Of the year, I believe.
Maybe.
I
might have just got those two mixed up. They're just I think on paper they're just really good. I think they have actually a decent chance. And I have to look at their out of conference schedule, but I think they have a very decent chance of actually getting an at-large bid if they do fall.
I could definitely see it
Saturday.
Let me ask you this: if Vermont gets an at-large bid, does that hurt Syracuse?
Oh yeah. We'll talk about Syracuse, but for sure. See, when you're a team on the bubble, it's kind of, you know how when you watch the tournament, you're kind of rooting for those underdogs, right? You know about the big time tournament, that's bigly what you look for, and then in the conference tournaments, you even look for that yourself. UConn, there was one year when they were kind of the underdog, when they were like a really low seed, and they ended up getting. It was last year, I believe. They were like a really low seed, and they ended up getting close to the final, and ended up losing it, so they didn't end up getting into the tournament. But we like rooting for the underdogs. But when you're on the bubble, you can't afford a team that was not going to make the tournament with an at-large bid to win. And so when you're Syracuse, I know it's mid-major and whatnot. You cannot afford a team like Vermont, who actually has a good resume, to lose. And just, you can't afford SMU or Cincinnati not winning the American. You can't afford teams that aren't supposed to, who aren't supposed to make the tournament get those automatic bids when you just lost to Miami.
Right. Yeah.
But circling back to UAlbany.
Circling back to UAlbany, I think they have a puncher's chance. I know that's a cliche. I'm sure a bunch of people are using it, but this team, if they get hot, they can make some noise. The whole transition to the 1-3-1 defense this year has been the difference. They were 0-3 in conference play.
Mm-hmm.
Then that first game back against UMBC, they took out Marquise Grayson in the starting lineup. They inserted Devontae Campbell.
Right, Campbell's been great.
Campbell's been great.
He won Defensive Player of the Year?
He did.
So
no, he was first team all defense.
First team all defense.
Sorry.
So the Defensive Player of the Year was someone from Vermont, right?
I don't know if that's even
I thought
thing.
they swept.
Is there a defensive player?
They probably
of the year?
swept.
They did sweep, but I'm not sure if that's even a category.
That's not a
I
category.
think it's all team
just
defense.
rookie, 6-man, and Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be on the first team defense just goes to show, I think, how big of an impact Campbell has been in the starting lineup.
Before inserted into the starting lineup, I believe he was getting maybe 5 minutes a game, and he sat out probably half the games of the season. Marquise Grayson, who is cousins with Jimmy Butler, I don't know if you know that.
I did know that, yes.
He had the starting nod the whole year, and
Right.
then they made that switch to the 1-3-1, and that proved to be the difference. Holy Cross came into the CEFQ Arena, and they ran the 1-3-1. They were outmatched, but they did it perfectly against the Danes. Hit a bunch of threes, and that kind of got into Will Brown's head, and he's thinking to himself, I need to do something. Maybe I need to implement a 1-3-1. And he didn't really pull it out of the bag until, I'd say, 5-6 games later when they were 0-3 in conference, and he needed something to shake something up. And that 1-3, they beat UMBC by 27 points.
Yeah.
And UMBC was the second best team in the league at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been on this run ever since. They're beating teams they should beat.
UMBC played Vermont tough.
But they ended up losing by how much?
3.
Was it 3?
Yeah, that's the toughest game I've seen on their schedule.
Oh,
Really.
this wasn't in the conf. This was
No, not in Continental.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, New Hampshire got obliterated.
yeah.
And Maine, too.
Both teams did.
Oh, my.
But like I said,
they're coming out
I
a
mean,
team. And I remember I was board opping the game that they did last game UAlbany had at Vermont, and that crowd was very loud for just a regular season game
Yeah.
against UAlbany.
I
So
couldn't hear myself thinking that building.
Yeah, good luck this weekend.
This weekend's gonna
Hopefully,
be crazy.
hopefully there's no fire because there's going to be a fire hazard with that many people probably in the gym.
Oh yeah, the roof's gonna blow off.
And
Another cliche, but
I will respect this UAlbany team a lot. I already respect the team a lot. I respect Will Brown and what he's done. They got into there. And
they lost 3 guards from last year.
yeah.
One of which was the best guard in the league. And now you're coming in this year, and you're unsure. You have these sophomore kids that
And then junior transfers.
junior transfers, JUCO transfers, and
Is that what they called?
Cremo was 6th player of the year last year, so you knew what you were getting there. But Nichols, he might have averaged 2 points a game last year, and this kid come out of nowhere. What's he averaging? 16 right now?
He was first team, right? First team.
He was first team.
America East.
Yep, Cremo was second team, and I believe Rowley got all academic team, something like that.
That's good.
It's good for your
That's the
resume.
most important one.
I'm sure he lands a job after his senior season.
Yeah, I really hope so. Good luck to all of them. Getting jobs. But our job is to analyze this, I guess. And I just like I said, I don't really see it. Just look at this resume by Vermont. But Stranger Things, it's called March Madness for a reason.
Look what Siena did to Monmouth
At the TU Center.
at the well.
Are we going to open up that can of worms?
Well, I mean, I was just down in Stony Brook this past weekend.
They won.
Monday.
They won at Stony Brook.
That was
yeah.
just a crazy environment, and
Lucas Woodhouse had a great game.
he did. He was limping, kind of like Nico Clareth.
Oh.
But that environment down there is just as crazy as playing in Burlington.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one point in the game where Albany turned the ball over 4 times
Yeah.
in a row, and it didn't really look too good.
Here's how I feel about UAlbany, and this is how I felt about them all year. And Will Brown has talked about this a lot on the postgame show. I've heard my fair share of Will Brown board opping and being on, working with Big Board Sports. Like you know yourself. We hear him every Monday in other games. But This is my takeaway of what I feel about UAlbany.
Well, we just need to start hitting our threes, okay?
They need to start hitting their threes. I think that if they're gonna beat Vermont, they need to hit. I don't know how many. I don't know. There's not a certain number, but I would say they need to hit a good amount of threes if they are going to beat Vermont. Do you disagree with that, or are you right there with me?
I'm right there with you. I can see Nichols hitting threes. This kid hit 7 threes. Was it 7 or 8?
I think it was 8.
He hit 8 threes
He was
in the
I
first
didn't-
game of the American East Conference.
Yeah,
His
they scored 40.
tournament.
Yeah.
So he's got the potential to do it. Joe Cremo's got the potential to do it. Devontae Campbell can hit threes.
Mm-hmm.
Costa Anderson can hit
But
threes.
my point being, though, in the games some of the games earlier in the season, they weren't hitting those threes, and they have been recently. But in the games against Vermont, I think that would be that they need to hit their threes.
For sure. They
Well, we
definitely
just
do.
need to start
but this is
hitting
a
our
team that
threes,
doesn't really
okay?
take a lot of threes, to be honest.
What's that?
This is a team that doesn't take a lot of threes.
Right. And I've heard, like I said, we've listened to a lot of Will Brown. He's kind of said that they're a better three-point shooting team. He said it in the postgame a lot, before, that they're a better three-point shooting team than they've kind of come off as.
What can happen is Nichols can't bring the ball up the court and hold on to it for 10 seconds. They need to
You
get the
watched
ball.
them more than me.
They need to get the ball inside, move it around. Inside, outside is the way that they're going to beat this Catamount team. If Nichols holds the ball and shoots up a shot, kind of like a Melo-esque, then I don't see us having. I can't say us. Well, I actually go
Just
to
say
I
us.
go
You
to
go
SUNY
to
Albany.
school there.
I go to SUNY Albany, and I work for the Albany Student Press. But I can't see the Great Danes winning if that scenario comes about.
Now I'm trying to look at what Joe Lenardi is projecting the Vermont Catamount. But what I will say is, do you think UAlbany has to play a play-in game if they end up getting it?
Jeez. I'd say a play-in game might happen. Haven't they been doing it differently though, with like a 12 seed play-in game and stuff like that?
There's 4 play-in games.
All right.
Two games between 16 seeds.
Okay.
And then two play-in games between like 12 seeds. 12 or 11 seeds.
What are your thoughts on the play-in game? People say
which ones?
I'm just saying
Because there always was that one, not always, but when they expanded to the 63, there was that one playing game that was always 16 that
Right.
no one really cared about. But now it's kind of a thing now. You got the 16 seed game and then followed by the actual game you really want to watch, and in both days.
I'm not a fan. You watch playing games at all?
I will probably tune in towards the late end of the 16.
Right.
It'll differ this year, based on my jobs. 'Cause before I was at school, but I'll probably.
Wait, stop. You don't skip whatever's going on that day? Do you
Well, first off, we're not talking
do you
about
call
those
in,
days.
Do you call in sick for the March Madness tournament? Like most
Should
of America? No, I'm not saying you should. I'm asking, do you? Most of America does.
You think Raj and Benita and Jim are going to be mad that I'm not prompting the news over at Channel 13? I would love to take it off.
Dude, just get a doctor's note.
I would love to take it off.
Fake sick. Don't take it off. Call in sick. How many personal
We're
days
going to
you
be
get over
working Big Board Sports like into the first tip of the game.
there? You guys watch? You guys watch it?
What?
Is it going on in the back? Like, do you have TVs?
I will
devoted?
have I will be in the break room where there's a TV for sure.
All right.
Watching the tournament, and then up until 5 o'clock when the news start, I won't be able to watch it. But I brought my iPad. I brought my iPad to watch ESPN.
Yeah.
So I might bring my iPad. See, this was on a Saturday. So when Santa was playing Fairfield, my alma mater is Fairfield. But when they were playing, Santa was playing Fairfield, I wanted to watch the game, and also the Duke UNC game was on.
Yep.
So in the middle of the news, I'm sitting there and Kumi Tucker's over there doing the news. I had my iPad on the table, and obviously I'm focusing on what I had to focus on. And when I can focus on the game, I have my iPad over there playing the games.
Right.
I'm thinking of doing a similar thing. The difference is that was a Saturday night, and obviously now it's out in the open here. We're talking about it on the podcast. If my boss really wants to listen to this podcast and hear that now, she probably could reprimand me. But I'm thinking at 5 o'clock on a Thursday when the bosses are still around, not a Saturday when the bosses are home and it's Saturday night, no one's really paying attention. I'm a little kind of nervous. Like the bosses might say something, and I'm not even sure how the talent would feel about it, but it is March Madness. I might bring the iPad and I might just plop it on the table and keep the games on there while I'm prompting. I mean, I might just do it. Or I might just have it underneath me so no one can see it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you got to do what you got to do. I think the opening.
Or I should give a doctor's note.
Yeah, get a doctor's note. I think the opening weekend of March Madness tournament is the greatest 3 to 4 days of sports all year long. I went.
It's a great, yeah.
I
for
went
sure.
to Vegas.
You don't even pay attention to the NBA, and there's probably some good games going on in the NBA.
Yeah. So I went to Vegas 3 years ago.
NHL. I like that show. Go ahead. Tell your story. I told mine.
No, you can go ahead.
That was it.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead. No, I was in Vegas for the opening round of March Madness tournament. Right after. All right, so I was.
I've heard this.
Have you heard it?
I think you told me. Yeah.
Why don't you tell the story then?
I don't remember that crisp.
All right, so anyway, I was at the Mirage watching the games, and UAlbany was on TV. Everybody in the sports book bet on UAlbany against Oklahoma. So I'm 3,000 miles away from UAlbany, cheering loudly with 200 other people for UAlbany, not to win, but these guys are looking for them to cover the 6 points or whatever they were getting. But that was kind of
cool.
surreal. But being in that atmosphere with all those games going on, I'll tell you, you got to wake up real early in Vegas. The game started like
Wild Wings, or like that type of place.
No, I'm talking a sports book at a casino. Have you ever been?
No.
Oh, dude. What are you
That's
doing?
insane.
What are you doing with your life? You have yet to?
No.
Well, how old are you?
Well, that's the only place where it's legal. I've never been to Vegas.
All right.
22.
You need to start saving. You need to go to Vegas for the opening weekend of March Madness.
All right.
It'll change your life. And it'll also change your bank account and your credit score.
In a positive way?
Negative way.
Oh, man.
But it's worth it. It's worth it.
Joe Lenardi has Vermont at the moment as a 13 seed. So just judging by that, doesn't look great for Vermont if they lose. I think they have a chance at the at-large bid, but with Monmouth not getting it last year, we know what happened there.
Yep.
But these mid-major teams, being a 13 seed doesn't necessarily bode well. It puts them on the cusp. It looks like from
I don't think
Lenardi's
it's
point
fair.
of view. But
I don't think it's fair at all for a mid-major team that can. Basically, they've won 19 games in a row.
Yeah.
They ran the table. They've won every conference game that they played this season.
they have.
And you slip up once and you don't make the tournament. Is that what it comes down to?
Yeah.
That's.
It is what it comes down to.
I think that these these mid-major conference tournaments are weighted way too much. I think the regular season doesn't matter at this point.
Well,
what you can
the regular
do,
season doesn't matter in the sense of you get a new slate.
you get a new slate, but what you can do.
But for Vermont's sake, if there really is a stigma behind home court advantage, like the Times Union Center has been kind of getting the stigma and they, screwed over Vermont myth,
right?
then now in a conference like the America East, the regular season does matter because you can get home court advantage throughout that aforementioned new slate.
But theoretically, a coach could be running games as practices all season long.
Yes.
Just to get ready.
I've said this for a while now.
Just
yeah.
to get ready for the tournament. And
like I said, I went to Fairfield. When I covered Fairfield, I was like, the real season starts now. And I said the conference tournament then, but even then, or not conference tournament, the conference season then, but you make a good point. It's really not even the conference season. It's really the conference tournament.
Yeah. So why not dip into your bench and go 12 deep for every game and get blown out and just see what you're working with and let the kids that are freshmen get experience by the time the tournament comes. And
That's a fair point for the out-of-conference matches. I think that's fair for the out-of-conference matches, but I do believe when conference play turns around, you should put the product on the floor that is going to get the exposure and get the work together.
Right.
In the most important, it's like if you're going to consider that's practice. So all those games, you consider that like the games as practices. You can consider all those regular season conference games as practice for the tournament. Who you might face.
I have an idea what they should do. They should have a point system for the regular season and a point system for the conference tournament. Say you win your conference, you get 5 points. You win the conference tournament, you get another 5 points. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season goes to the tournament.
It's interesting. I think there's some holes to be poked. But
I'm sure there's holes to be poked, but I think that just makes the most sense because now the regular season means something. Now a game in December is not meaningless anymore. It's going to count towards you going to the tournament for the mid majors. I'm not saying any of the big schools or anything like that because you got your RPI and you're this and that. There's no RPI for mid majors.
Let me just use this argument. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA,
okay,
you're not going to, and we've kind of seen this with Popovich in the Western Conference, but LeBron's getting worked like a horse right now just to get that 1 seed.
right?
But at this juncture, especially at this juncture in the season, you're going to make the playoffs. You're going to get into the dance, so to speak.
Yep.
You're not going to fall out of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Why don't you rest LeBron? Why don't you take some L's, and maybe the Celtics will pass you, or maybe the Wizards or Raptors will pass you. Because then in that case, the regular season doesn't necessarily matter because you know you're gonna get to the dance, so to speak, the playoffs, and then you can turn on from there.
I think that's more of an ego
Is that
thing.
different?
I don't know. I think it's more of an ego thing in the pros. A lot of egos.
But right now, what are they playing for? Home court advantage. Well,
Yeah.
what are you playing for in the regular season? You're playing for home court advantage if you're in the America East. Obviously, if you're in the MAC, I get that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, there's no venue in the America East tournament.
Right.
There's no venue to do something like that.
That makes a big
But
enough difference.
I'll
as the
tell you
team
what,
center
man,
does.
covering the team, it's crazy. Driving down to Stony Brook, then up to Burlington,
Yeah.
and this place and that place.
I think it's just the nature of what March Madness is,
It's great.
and it should just be that way.
I'm not complaining at all. It's great.
Yeah.
But
Well, you just look at you had, Wisconsin, Milwaukee. They were a 10 seed. They ended up getting to the championship game, losing to Northern Kentucky. But if you can get the argument, so you can look at it one way or another. Like Northern Kentucky got lucky to play the 10 seed in the final, or no, they still, obviously no one's going to say they didn't earn it because they went out there and they won all the games that they had to.
right.
But did they get lucky that Wisconsin, Milwaukee knocked off a top team in their conference, or could that have been them had they done a little bit better in the conference? You know what I'm saying? So if they
Right.
had done better, when Wisconsin, Milwaukee had beaten them in the semis, if they were the 1 seed or whatever. It's an interesting question.
Yeah. Did Syracuse get lucky that Michigan State lost last year?
Yeah,
Big time.
100%.
Big time.
100%.
And then they got lucky a couple more times. Not really lucky.
Speaking of Michigan State losing to Middle Tennessee State is a team to look out for in the tournament. If you want to change gears onto the tournament as a whole.
Okay.
And you brought up Syracuse. That's probably a better segue here because are they going to get into the tournament? They just lost to Miami, and
I would give it less than a coin flip at this point. I mean, they have some good wins, but
you're saying less than 50% chance.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm an SU guy. I go to a lot of games in the Dome. I love the orange, but I got.
Don't they still feel like a team though that would make noise in the tournament?
Yeah, just because their style of play, that 2-3 zone.
Right.
No one ever sees that 2-3 zone. It catches teams by surprise, catches you off guard. Nobody really practices it too much. And if you do practice it, doesn't mean that your team's good at implementing it.
No, if you can shoot, man,
And
if you can shoot, and you get lazy on the 2-3 zone, eventually you keep passing back and forth, and then the guy gets an open look, and he gets puts in rhythm, and he nails it. I saw that in the Miami game.
right.
So you get a little too lazy to get open looks, and if they make the open looks, that's when they could beat you.
True. But Syracuse is recruiting long guys that play that 2-3 zone, that force turnovers, that lead to easy transition buckets, and that's been their thing for how many years now? And teams will see that once a year in the tournament that don't normally play them in the division or in their conference.
Hakeem work was just long enough.
Yeah.
In 03.
So yeah, but I don't know.
Is it interesting to you that you get the same feel with the same? Is it interesting to you in the fact that this Syracuse team has, in my personal opinion, a higher resume, if you will? I know they kind of had their struggles on the road, but I don't think the Syracuse team that made the tournament last year had the same resume in the sense of they beat 3 top 10 teams in the nation.
right.
I don't remember them having that. And now, all of a sudden, in your personal opinion, is it weird for you to think now that this team actually seems like they have a better resume, yet they're not going to make it this year?
Verdict's still out. But
Right. Obviously, Joe Lenardi
just that
has
St.
had them
John's
as
loss.
last 4 buys, I believe, before they lost. But I don't know for a fact.
that St. John's loss, that 33-point loss in the Dome, that's going to hurt them big time. I believe that was the biggest loss that they suffered in the Dome in the Boeheim era. That doesn't go back to the 60s because they played in Manley Fieldhouse before the Dome. I think the Dome opened in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But in 30 years, that was the biggest loss they ever suffered in the Dome. And who is St. John's? Has anyone talked about St. John's at all this year? Have you heard St.
No,
John's?
St. John's is played in the playing game for the Big East tournament against Georgetown. So they're not even they're on the low of the low.
Right.
They're playing in the first round. They didn't even make it in the top 6 of their conference or something like that.
And then they got smoked by Boston College, not too much longer than that, 96-81. And then just some of these losses that I'm looking at, they're not making a case. They lose by 10 to Virginia Tech. They got blown out by North Carolina, but I mean North Carolina's a strong team. They got blown out by Notre Dame. I don't know.
They're in a very tough conference. As a finish where they've kind of finished with what, 9th?
Yeah.
So like that was pretty decent. Yeah, that's pretty good. And they beat 3 top 10 teams, including Duke.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually watching that Duke game on my laptop while covering the UAlbany game in Burlington.
All right, nice plug.
Thank you.
We already know at this point, but yeah, keep going.
But no, that's it. That's all I had to say.
All right.
Yeah.
Good game.
It was a
Good
great
game. John Gillen.
It was great. Yeah.
Big time. Gonzaga. There's an interesting part. So the 1 seeds, it kind of seems locked. I mean, unless North Carolina loses to Miami, I think, or whatnot, or like something like that. It seems pretty locked in to where we see right now at the 1 seeds. Gonzaga probably is going to get that 1 seed. Do you think it's unfair for Gonzaga to get that 1 seed, or do you think Gonzaga
Just based on who they play?
Yes.
Yes and no at the same time. Who do they lose to?
BYU.
They lost to BYU.
Yes.
That was a close game, right?
It was close.
So they stopped
close game.
They stubbed their toe once. What major wins have they had this year?
They had a couple major wins. I'll get them to you in a second.
Right.
I can't off the top of my head. I believe one of them, if I'm not mistaken, was Iowa State and Arizona. Iowa State and Arizona. Those are 2 top teams at this moment. And they obviously they play St. Mary's twice. They beat them 3 times. Or excuse me, play St. Mary's 3 times because they beat them in the final. So they beat St. Mary's 3 times, and they also beat, like I said, the big time Iowa State. They also beat Florida, who's a big time team now. So yeah, they have some pretty good out of conference wins. But to not have to go through a grueling ACC schedule, or even a grueling Pac-12 schedule, so you didn't have to play Arizona twice. Oregon did. And vice versa. Arizona had to play Oregon twice. And then, both of those two had to play UCLA twice.
Don't you think if Gonzaga wanted to, they can join a better conference? Isn't that kind
tell me.
Isn't that kind of the luxury of being in a smaller conference? I would pick the choice of staying in a smaller conference.
Okay, let me ask you this. What if Vermont ended up kind of building this kind of powerhouse? So Vermont ends up continuing to get great recruits. They continue to play great games, and they go out and they play out-of-conference games, and they play very well, and they just dominate the America East every single year. Do you think a team like that? I don't know if it's definitely not comparing. It's definitely kind of comparing apples to oranges because I think the America East is definitely down from the West Coast Conference. But what did that end up happening? Does Vermont get you? Would that be a 2? Would it be a 3? Would it be a 4? If they were beating good out-of-conference teams and then just owned the America East every year.
They'd probably be, I'd say, between a 5 and an 8 seed. If they were just blowing teams out.
What you're saying?
Well, it also depends. These teams.
So you're saying the West Coast Conference is a good enough conference to where that going 17-1 is pretty darn impressive in the conference.
I guess not. I mean, you make a good point.
Because look at ACC.
But where are you gonna put Gonzaga? What seed are you gonna get? They're 30-1.
I would give them a 2.
You would give them a 2?
I would give them a 2.
Who do you slide in there?
Like I said, it's right in the West. I would give it to the best and probably the team that goes the farthest in the Pac-12 tournament.
So, Oregon.
It's Oregon, Arizona, UCLA. I don't mean like if Cal somehow snuck in there or something like that. Right. I would be one of those 3. Probably Oregon. Yeah, it's for 2nd year in a row.
So who do you got winning the whole thing? It's tough this year. It's tough. There's
we got the pool. No, everyone's gonna have Kansas. Yeah, I think not everyone, but Kansas is gonna be a popular pick, and I kind of have this thing where in December, I pick a team in my head that says there's a team that I like enough to I'm gonna pick that team. 2 years ago was Wisconsin, picked them to win it all. They ended up losing to Duke in the final. Last year was North Carolina, picked them in December. Once again, a popular pick.
Are you revealing your pick right now?
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah. The team that it was for me in December that I chose was Kansas. It was Kansas.
They're playing good basketball.
And it's just because they have the senior leadership. And if Josh Jackson, he gets suspended for the first game, he'll be fine. He'll be ready to go.
It doesn't matter.
Right, it doesn't. So,
what was that, a parking violation? A speeding ticket or something like that? Weird.
I just have to go to that fact of I got to go Kansas. Frank Mason Jr. Yeah.
think.
Sorry, Wayne Selden III was there. Just got
Yeah.
no. It's Frank Mason III. Wayne Selden Jr.
Is it? I'm the third. I don't know if that means anything. To
John
anybody.
Longton III.
Hey, how are ya?
John Gillen III.
Yeah.
Crazy
my guy.
stuff.
That's my guy.
It's Frank Mason III and Wayne Selden Jr., who might sign with New Orleans Pelicans on a completely side note. I like Kansas in the senior leadership. You got Devontae Graham, and then you got some of these decent bigs, and Landon Lucas, Carlton Bragg off the bench, and then Josh Jackson. I think you can hold a candle to Josh Jackson. I think you can hold him to any freshman in the country, even Lonzo Ball. I mean, I think he's one of the best freshmen in the country. You add that into it. That's why I like Duke a lot. So I still think Duke has a decent chance, even though they're probably only going to be a 4 or a 5. I think Duke's going to be a favorite probably for people to pick to go all the way as well.
Preseason favorite, weren't they?
Well, because they got veteran. It's that great combination that I love in Kansas that's there for Duke. But Kansas has shown it all year. That's why I was in Kansas. I picked them in December, and so like if I had picked Duke, I would still be picking Duke right now. But because I picked Kansas back in December, and I kind of did this the last few years, I did this last 3 years ago with Michigan State, and they kind of had a Duke moment where they kind of fell off, ended up being the 4th seed, and then they ended up losing to UConn, who was a 7th seed, who ended up winning it all. That was the Shabazz Napier year. But I think for me it's Kansas, but I really like North Carolina as well, who also get a 1 seed. How can you not at least entertain the thought of Villanova going back to back? Because Chris Jenkins, Josh Hart, they're still there. I know they lost to Chefu and Archie Giacono, but they're still there, Jenkins and Hart, and among a couple others, and like I said, my 4 teams though that I really am like zeroing in on: North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, Villanova.
Villanova's not in the top 25 right now.
Yeah, they are. What are you talking about?
Are they?
Should be the top 1 or 2.
Oh,
1.
yeah, they are too. Yeah, I just totally. My screen was all the way down. I was surprised by that. All right.
Yeah, and real quick about the conference things: North Carolina 14-4 in the ACC. Every other team had 6 losses or more. That's how challenging and how tough the ACC is. Put Gonzaga in there, no way they go 17-1 in the conference.
No.
So
yeah. I have no idea, to be honest.
All right, so you'll just put the hands over hands over the eyes and little
more
click,
or less
click.
You know what I always do?
My friend used to do a coin flip.
A coin flip?
He coin flipped every single game. He knew nothing about basketball, so he would just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna fill out my bracket. Coin flip."
He would
got a
flip the
16 seed beating a 1.
Oh, God.
No, I think it was one of those things where he would not coin flip that one.
Okay.
He would like make sure that he didn't coin flip that one. But 215, 15s are on the board.
Did he have Middle Tennessee State beating Michigan State last year?
He did.
Did he?
He did. I'm
Oh,
pretty
my
sure
God.
he did. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go to the whole
the
coin
rest of his
flip.
bracket was crap. I mean, I'm
Right,
pretty
right,
sure
right.
he had SMU in final as a 6 seed. They were a 6 seed that year, and then they lost in the second round.
Nice. Now, usually when I don't know, I go with Kentucky.
See, Kentucky's a team I didn't mention, but they're still there. I mean, they're always that team that seems to, and this is why I think Calipari deserves a lot of credit. They're a team that matures very quickly, and obviously they have to because they're very young.
Well, that and he's got a whole nother recruiting class coming in
Yeah,
every year. He just
but
reloads.
he gets them to mature, and I talked about it on past podcasts with Hogan, who's on assignment.
On assignment.
I've touched on it with them in the past podcast that I think kind of these Kentucky players, they're so used to high level of competition that they get a little bored during the season, and then when tournament times come around, so the conference tournament, we'll see the SEC tournament, we'll see the real Kentucky come out, and if they show that they can play, they're going to come out in the NCAA tournament and come out and play at a high level. They got great players.
Makes sense.
As long as Isaiah Briscoe and I know Malik Monk has been fine. There's one other point guard that's kind of had been injured. Can't believe I'm forgetting him, but as long as they're healthy, Bam Adebayo, they're a good team. NBA talk. Do you want to go talk to NBA?
We can talk NBA.
Do we have some time?
What do we got?
We can just go on a little bit of a tangent, if you will, on NBA talk in terms of.
What are we talking, Knicks?
We could talk.
No,
Knicks,
we're not talking Knicks. We don't want to bore anybody with Knicks. What are they? 12 games out of the? No. I think they're 5 games out of the 8 spot in the East, something like that.
Yeah, that's not. They're not.
And-
Don't get your hopes up, bro.
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox. Sorry, De'Aaron Fox, the other Kentucky guy. As long as he's healthy, he's been a little on of it. Moving on.
Moving on.
Yeah, we already did move on. I just had to get the brain fart
Gotcha.
and correct the mistake that I
Very
made.
bad.
I think that the last thing we could talk about on this podcast here today is kind of the resurgence of the MVP talk. I think for a long time we've been talking about it's either going to be Westbrook or Harden. I think people got bored with it. And then you got a lot of people who are just really, LeBron's the best player in the world. And people are going to use that as the reason why they're going to say LeBron deserves to be MVP. But I think people got bored with the fact that we kept talking about, because it was all year. It started from game one.
Right.
Harden to Westbrook. People started getting bored, and they're realizing, well, Westbrook isn't going to get the win total. And look, LeBron sat out a game, and the Cavs got destroyed. LeBron should be MVP. Oh, and look, Kawhi Leonard had a really good game. Kawhi should be MVP because his team is just as good record-wise as anybody else in the league, except for the Warriors at the moment, but very close. So, and he's one of the best two-way players in the game. So, we got to rekindle this thing. So now you add those two, and obviously LeBron's going to be in the conversation every single year.
Right.
And now I think Russell Westbrook's not even getting. I don't even want to say it because I feel like it's blasphemous to say, but I don't think Russell Westbrook's getting enough credit.
Enough credit?
I know it's blasphemous to say, but I think at this juncture, people, maybe that's not the right way to say it, but I don't think he's a lot of people are hopping off the wagon of Russell Westbrook winning MVP, not having an historic season. They're jumping off the wagon of him winning MVP because his team's probably not going to eclipse 50 wins.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging a double-double.
Listen,
or triple-double, sorry.
He is averaging a triple-double. Whether that lasts the end of the season or not, I think he should win regardless. I know, and then my number 2 pick would be James Harden. And I know everyone wants to talk about, maybe the turnovers and whatnot. But let me look at this. Stephen A. Smith, I think, had today. I wish we had the sound. I wish I pulled this sound. But I think he said something about today because they lost 4 straight games. Westbrook no longer should win MVP. Look at what he's done in those games.
Yeah,
he's put up 45-plus points 3 times in those games.
Mm-hmm. And the other one was 29 points.
Yeah. Not to mention a franchise and career high for him. 58 in the last game. So, are they saying that Russell Westbrook is now being a cancer to his team and trying to do too much for his team? And that the rest of the team isn't at fault for some of these losses? I mean, at some point, where is this thing coming from of, okay, now they don't win 50 games? You look at the MLB. I know, so I'm kind of mixing 2 arguments in a way, but not really.
Are you comparing apples with oranges here?
Well, because I was going to mix the argument of people are saying that people would always say that Mike Trout is the best player in baseball. He should win MVP. Some people say every year, but he should win MVP even though their team is god-awful. That's what happened last year. The American League MVP went to Mike Trout, but their team was nowhere even near the top of the league in the American League. And everyone's saying, because he's the best player, he should win. But really what it is he had the best stats of anybody in the American League. Russell Westbrook has the best stats of anybody in the NBA.
Yeah.
And his team is still over 500. Mike Trout's team was 20 games under or something like that.
Okay. Let me cut you off.
Is this complete? Is it apples to oranges comparing the 2 sports?
Well, kind of.
Put Russell Westbrook on the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think they're the worst team in the NBA. I think that they're actually right there in the playoffs in
the playoffs.
I think they're in the playoffs.
Okay.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Okay, why?
You might be right.
Okay.
You told me to tell you you're wrong. Well, the name of the award is most valuable player. Here's the reason why I say that. The Thunder might be as bad as the Nets if Russell Westbrook was off. You think so?
Yes.
If that's the case, then he is the most valuable player. But most best player is where people are arguing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
I look at it as seasons, dude. I look at it as seasons. I look at the season. Most valuable player and most valuable player are 2 different things. I know it's blasphemous to say, but the MVP award is different than who is maybe the most valuable player. LeBron James will be the most valuable player until he starts to decline.
Right. Does he kind of get lost in the shuffle here? Are we?
Well, he's not now. You hear people, Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd now is going out. It should be him. Mike and Mike. Greenberg has been going nuts now. LeBron, I think, deserves. He's gone. He's flip-flopped, but on the same topic of ESPN hosts, Izzy Gutierrez, I think is on LeBron. So
how about this?
LeBron is definitely getting his due diligence at this point, and he always will.
This time last year, it was all Steph Curry. Have you heard Steph Curry's name even being mentioned?
No.
What happened? What changed?
Durant at first.
Durant. Now he's injured. What's he done since Durant's been injured?
He's done all right. He hasn't been made. I don't think he's done hitting as many threes.
Right.
He's not. scoring 40 plus like he did a lot last year. He averaged 30 around last year. The first, I think around 30. The first year he won, he didn't even average that much. He was like averaged like 24 points. I think James Harden actually, I kind of could have made the argument James Harden should have won 2 years ago. Last year was his, it was his. He ran away with that. No one else was even close. But you could have made the same argument about LeBron last year. But they were just 73-9. He was a very good player.
Right.
He
was the catalyst.
The thing of it is if Westbrook was doing this on a team that was going to be 64 and 18,
Let me ask you this.
for sure.
If Durant
60 and 22. Oh yeah.
If Durant stays,
Heck, if they were even 50 and 32, he would probably get the award. But because he's not going to get the 50 wins, all of a sudden now he didn't get to the benchmark. He didn't get to 50. Oh, no MVP.
if Durant stays on the Thunder, and let's say James Harden was still around and Westbrook left, you think they can win a title?
So now you're telling me that if they traded Westbrook instead of Harden,
Yeah.
would they have won a title?
Yeah. I'm asking that question.
That's a tough one. I would probably lean
This
towards...
is all theoretics, but
Right. Because that means they also were able to keep Ibaka. I talked about this. I think that in hindsight, that would have been the better. If you're looking back at it, they should have traded Westbrook and kept Harden on the team because Harden, I think, Durant was closer to Harden. I think that would have actually gotten them to be able to keep Westbrook or Durant. So this is a question I have thought about. But winning a title, never really dived over into that. I don't necessarily. It's all hypothetical.
Yeah.
If the Warriors still became what they became, listen. Durant stayed with the Thunder. They're competitive with the Spurs this year. They're competitive with what the Warriors would have been. So to say that, I would have to say, yeah, I would say that they could have won a title, yeah. Do I need to expound on it? I don't know.
No, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? So like,
well,
what I'm saying
that-
is if Durant did not wuss out, I'm not going to hold back. I think he wussed out by going to
he
Golden
definitely
State.
wussed out.
He'll probably win a championship or two, but he went to Golden State and then wussed out. But if he hadn't done that and he stayed with the Thunder to me, with personnel that they have, are good enough. See, like this is where it kind of gets a little tricky because someone who'll be listening will be like, "Oh, you said the personnel is not good enough right now with Westbrook. They would be one of the worst teams in the NBA if you took Westbrook off, but the personnel was good enough if you kept Durant." Yeah, I do. I think the personnel knew what their roles was. Like Steven Adams knows what he's doing. He needs to play defense and get rebounds. He doesn't have to be a scorer. Right now, he needs to be more of a scorer. Mm-hmm. Oladipo, just know how to make some threes and play some pretty good defense. And then if you get 12 points a game, we'd really appreciate that. But now he needs to be a guy who gets 20 points a game because Westbrook needs that. But if you have Durant and you know who your scores are coming from, Oladipo and Adams and all the rest can focus on defense. And that Thunder team would have been probably top 3, if not, I think, the best team in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Westbrook right now, they don't have a second scorer. And I know Oladipo's supposed to be that. And keep in mind, Oladipo was out 3 of those games. He did not play against Dallas. He did not play against Phoenix. And he did not play against Portland the first time they lost to them. He was only back on that game against March 7th. So, because Westbrook lost 4 games, 3 of them without their second best player, please. And that's going to take him out of the MVP race.
So it's his.
Well, think about that. What?
It's his award to lose right now. You think he's a for sure front runner right now?
When's the last time you heard of a guy averaging a triple double? And by the way, he's averaging over 30 points per game.
True.
I
think a triple double.
I know he's averaging 5.5 turnovers per game and might set the record of most turnovers. I get that, but it's because he's trying to do it all for his team. And it's not like they're like 80 games under 80, but like, you know what I'm saying? They're not. Right. They're not. It's not like they're not even in the playoffs. If we're having this conversation, this team's not a playoff team, and they're not even over 500, but they're still a playoff team. That's a different conversation. They're going to be a playoff team, and I think for all intents and purposes, unless they keep going down this road, they're still going to be over 500.
You think a triple double is worth as much as it was in the 90s as it is now?
Yeah, it's more rare. I think it's just as rare.
Just as rare as in the 90s?
Well, Oscar Robertson didn't do it in the 90s.
Teams
about the 90s.
Teams are shooting. Well, I'm just saying how physical the game was in the 90s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You actually had bigs.
Oh, gotcha. I mean, Michael Jordan only had like 26.
It's a smaller game now. You know what I'm saying? Bigs are.
Oh yeah, so it's less impressive because
So
they're
there's-
getting the rebounds.
Yeah, you're getting the rebounds.
They kind of let them get the rebounds. The big guys do. They kind of focus more on box out, which is good.
Well, that and there's more threes being shot, and there's more longer rebounds that are happening. But it's still very impressive to average triple double. But just like
That's why I'm very impressed with
might
James
be-
Harden because I give a lot of credit to.
Yeah,
his
he changed his
assists.
game. He
Yeah.
changed his game.
I gave a lot of credit to assists, and he's leading the league in assists.
Right.
So he's not only scoring points, but he's distributing the basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, when Steph Curry won his MVPs, he wasn't averaging.
I kinda
any-
equate-
He was averaging like 6 or 7 assists a game.
I kind of equate a triple double as like a quarterback throwing for 4,500 yards nowadays, because the rules changed in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying. Well, I mean, hand checking and all that stuff kind of changed.
But still,
in the
no
NBA.
one's done it though. No one's averaged triple double though.
Yeah.
In this time period you're talking about.
Right.
So you're saying
You're
it's a little less impressive,
I
but he's still
think-
doing it. He's still the only one to do it. LeBron
Yeah.
James hasn't done it.
He's breaking the glass for sure. But is he going to
You
be
think
the
someone
only-
else is going to do it?
Yeah, I could see Harden doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I could see Oladipo doing
Well, there
it.
is this kind of
Or not Oladipo. What's the Greek-
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I can't pronounce his name.
Giannis.
Giannis. I'll just say Giannis.
Do you
now. I can see him doing
do
it
you
for
think
sure.
that the rebounds are kind of a thing where if the his teammates said to themselves, all right, well, let's just make sure so-and-so gets as many rebounds as he can get. Do you think that's a thing? So do you think that
During
everyone
the game?
So you think everyone on Oklahoma City is saying, okay, say someone so-and-so shooting a free throw, we put Russell there.
No. That's
Just
not
box out
happening.
our guy. Russell, just go run in.
No. Do you think? I think his athleticism gets him half his
Okay,
rebounds.
I definitely think that he gets, rebounding is as much hustle as it is height.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there, but there might be this thing where we'll put Russell on the to box out the shooter. So you know how free throws works. You got the two guys. So you got the offensive players, one man on their left, one man on their right.
Yeah.
The man on their left, or depending on where you are, the one who's higher than them, he can just run in because usually you can box out the shooter, but you don't really see box out the shooter that much in the NBA.
Right.
You tell the two big guys to box out the big guys, and then Russell go and run in there. That's your rebound to get. I think that there might be some of that going on, but regardless, I do think a lot of it is hustle and like you said, athleticism. So it's all legit, and I think that he deserves the MVP, even if the team only wins 4 to 6 games.
You think he keeps his stats in his head during the game? Like, I'm 1 assist away from a triple-double. Maybe I'll just pass this one instead of taking a wide-open shot. Or
I feel like any player that kind of is putting up those numbers probably does.
yeah.
He'll tell you it's all about winning. I believe in the end it's all about winning for him. But we saw Draymond Green, and obviously I'm talking about a different player, but we saw Draymond Green last season admit to it after a game that he was trying to get a triple-double. I guess it was a game against the Sixers, and they almost lost it, and the Sixers were even worse than they were last year. They almost lost that game because he was just taking himself out of the offense to win. But listen, if he was going for a triple-double, he wouldn't have scored 58 points last game. He still found, if he was going for a triple-double, he wouldn't have shot the ball 24 times because in the game against Dallas, when he only had 5 assists. So to answer your question, yeah, he probably kind of knows, but it doesn't define who he is as a player because he still wants to score the 58 points because he knows that he needed to do that for his team.
True.
That's just my rant. LeBron is the best player in the NBA.
He is.
He's
He's the best all-around player.
He's the best all-around
Might not
player.
be the best shooter,
He
but-
will make anybody a playoff team.
Yeah.
Any team a playoff team. It's just the truth. But it doesn't mean that's not the award. I know it's called most valuable player.
Right.
He is the most valuable player in the NBA, but to me, the MVP award is who had the best season.
Are we spoiled as sports fans being living in the LeBron era right now, you think?
I do. And I've been guilty of criticizing him. I'm not as bad as some of these trolls, but I'm not sitting here worshiping him. But I do think that I've probably taken for granted, and I am appreciating what we have now for sure. But I'm still going to criticize him when I have the chance.
Right.
I thought it was a very weak move on his part to talk out about his roster. They were sitting at the top of their conference, and he's talking about how they need more talent and a playmaker around.
What, did they
them.
lose 3 straight when that happened?
Yeah.
Something like that?
I just think that keep that stuff internal. If you really think that, keep that internal, because to me, you're the playmaker. You're the guy that, like, so no, Russell Westbrook is, I don't think Russell Westbrook said he needs more talent. Have you heard Russell Westbrook say he needs more talent?
No.
Who needs more talent more, Russell Westbrook or LeBron James?
Russell, obviously.
That's a good place to leave it, I think. So we'll see how things develop. Because if Oklahoma City keeps going down this path, the narrative's only going to go up for LeBron winning it or Kawhi winning it, and obviously James Harden winning it. So we'll see how that turns out. But as long as as long as Russell continues doing what he's doing, I got to give it to Russell.
Can I make a quick argument real quick?
Yeah, sure.
I think Isaiah Thomas should get it.
Okay.
Hear me out.
He's the second most points per game, right?
Is he second most points per game?
He's around there.
But what he's doing in the fourth quarter, he's winning ball games.
Right. No, he's one of the best.
You can look at his stat line, and it'll say he's averaging 29 points a game. But a lot of those points are coming in the fourth quarter in high-pressure situations. Mm-hmm. And he's leading his team. They're the second seed in the East. Who thought they were going to be the second seed in the East 3 years ago? Remember when they did the whole rebuilding process?
Watch out for the Wizards, though.
Yeah.
They're sitting a game behind them, just 2 back in the winning column. It's high in the loss, but go ahead.
I'm just saying.
I know. I'm just saying.
The Celtics
John Wall, then.
should still... Yeah?
He's right there in assists. But go ahead. Keep going.
Isaiah Thomas.
John Wall.
MVP.
All right. No, I like where you're going with it.
I'm just saying, you look at his stat line, but the times that he's doing these things are just extraordinary.
Yeah, he's been very good.
He does a lot of this stuff in the fourth quarter, and there's no fourth quarter stat.
I mean, I'm sure you could find some.
No, I mean there is, but
Right.
You don't look at the stats when you're breaking down, a season. Is how many of these points came in the fourth quarter? What percentage he was shooting in the fourth quarter?
Right.
Does that go into factor when calculating and who you're gonna vote for the MVP?
I think it does.
You think?
I think it does. I mean, if you're hitting, I bring this back to an argument that I can literally talk your head off about, and this is about the 2013 NL MVP. We won't go down that road, but
okay.
Basically, Paul Goldschmidt lost out Andrew McCutcheon last year. Not only did I think that Goldschmidt's numbers were a little bit better across the board, he might have not had as big an average, and he didn't steal as many bases. But Paul Goldschmidt that year, I think, had at least 3 walk-off home runs. One of those walk-offs, he'd hit a game-tying home run earlier that year. I think those should have been taken into consideration in that. And so when I do make an argument for Paul Goldschmidt in 2013 NL MVP, I use that. So Isaiah Thomas, I think, should use that in his argument for his MVP. For sure.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter performances. I mean, that's when the game is most. What was our biggest criticism of LeBron for all those years?
Didn't want to take a shot.
Right, exactly. And he didn't perform in the fourth quarter, right? It was like if you give LeBron James $1, he'd give you 3/4, right? Or something like that.
That's the first time I've ever heard that. That's great. That's great. I like that. I'm going to start using that. So should we end it there?
Yeah, I guess where we're going to end it. So I'd like to thank John Launton. Hopefully he comes on again.
I'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm going to listen to the replay.
We'll plan it. Oh, yeah, we'll see. But we will have Hogan and I, and maybe John will join us for this, but Hogan and I eventually will get out MLB division previews. I'm very excited for this. And if Hogan doesn't come on with me, I'm going to do it myself. And maybe with John.
We'll see.
So, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your rest of your day. Enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. But just know this. We're always here for you on 1045theteam.com and youtube.com/team1045. For John Longton, I'm Eric Hammond. We'll see you next time on the Sittin Sportside podcast.
Can't wait.